So Joe Budden and his cast of characters decided to chime in on the lawsuit against Spotify and Drake being so far the only artist named as someone whom they have proof of was body, and Spotify turned a blind eye. This should be interesting. Let's listen in.
Come on, Drake and Spotify. You wrote it up there. Let's get right to it.
Let's get right to it. That's what the fans want, man. They expect us to trash Drake right now, and I don't think we need to.
I totally disagree. I don't think that at all. I don't think that the audience is expecting this pod to come on and us trash Drake.
Nah, I don't think nobody expects them to trash Drake, just to shoot straight with the information. I mean, Drake's not being sued. He's not being sued. So in this instance, as far as we know so far, he hasn't done anything that would warrant being named as a plaintiff or a defendant, right? As a defendant in the lawsuit.
Okay, I could be wrong.
But if you want to trash him,
I have no desire to trash Drake. What I wanted to, so RBX, the artist, the rapper.
I'll get my shades, nigga. I ain't gonna leave you out there.
RBX is, if y'all don't know, he's a rapper, OG rapper, Death Row affiliate, wrote some really important songs, was part of the Chronic, part of a whole bunch of stuff, and he's Snoop's cousin. He sued Spotify. And the basic allegations that Spotify is complicit in the use of bots to fake streams. And in the lawsuit, they mentioned one artist as an example. That is Drake. I want to stress, Drake is not being sued. Drake is not being accused of any wrongdoing. Drake is just being used as an example to show how many streams are being produced, sometimes at things like bot farms, one of which was found in Turkey. And they're saying that maybe that a large number of the streams are faked, and it harms the other artists who are not being inflated the same way. They showed a time period from, I think it was January 2022 until September of 2025, where they were looking at just Drake's music as the example and showing these unusual inflations. For example, where somebody would be listening to Drake's music for 23 hours. And one of the major sources, just to tie this up, is irregular listening habits. Yes.
Yeah. It's from what Mark is saying.
Well, they're making it like it was just a person. I don't think necessarily they were saying that a person was listening to Drake for 23 hours, even though some of those fools do. I think it was more to the point of it was the bots, right? They had the phone set up and the streaming farms or whatever you want to call it. Those set up. They wasn't. I don't think they was saying that a person was, or that they had people literally sitting there listening to them for 23 hours.
The Neo Geographic shit. Some of these streams are coming from places where there's no address, nobody lives.
Yep.
So
they're all using VPNs.
Yeah,
that's a big thing too.
And they're mostly tied to the free tier of Spotify, which is so there's no credit card trace or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how they're able to finagle the system using the free tier. That's why I don't like free tiers on things. And
the free tier is not really.
It's not free.
It's not really free.
Yeah.
The free tier, that's a myth.
It is.
Right.
There's no such thing as a free tier.
Right. Explain.
Come one, come all. I don't know if I feel like it in this talk, maybe in hour two.
There's so many more advertising. They're taking more data.
Oh, got you. But the actual patron,
the free tier
comes with a price. Paying.
I might jump out there and say it ain't too far removed from being almost as valuable as the paid tier.
Right, more.
Which is right. That's what I mean when I say is because it's a hustle, and the argument is not that Spotify is necessarily making the fake streams, but they benefit so much from it that they're not.
They turn the side eye.
Yeah, because that's how they go to subscribe to advertisers and say, look at all these people we got listening. So they're incentivized to do it. The artists are incentivized not to stop it, and the only people really being harmed are people
lesser known artists.
Yeah, it's the middle class and lower artists.
How are they being harmed?
I explained this during a bunch of different times, but
that fool had to ask, how are they being harmed? Come on, man.
Specifically during the Drake beef, that was one of my reasons why people might have an issue with him, is what happens on Spotify in particular, but I think also Apple, is they essentially pool tips, meaning they take all the money from all of the streams and then look at who gets what percentage of streams and divvy up the money that way. So if someone has an artificially inflated number, they're essentially taking money out of the pockets of people with lower numbers.
That makes tons of sense.
Which is why RBX is suing.
And that's one of the reasons I was leaving Spotify. Well, I left Spotify. You can't take my numbers, put them in a pot with everybody else's numbers, and then divvy it up equally. No, it don't work like that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not signing up for that. If I got more numbers, I want to be paid than more of these people. I got enough numbers to be looked at in a whole different class. Don't put me in that pot. So I get the lesser. No, I understand exactly what they're saying.
But
Yeah, but I see what Joe's saying, right? If I'm one of the ones who are bringing in the lion's share of the streams, I should get the lion's share of the quote unquote tips. But that would be if your streams were legit, right? If your streams are legit. Yeah. And who knows how this algorithm works and how they do this. I don't know at all. But also on the other side of things with RBX and whoever the other people are with him, the plaintiffs, what they're saying is, well, why are these guys getting the lion's share when a good portion of these streams that they have are fake? Right. So now it's just like we're not making as much because they're stealing some of the money using fake bots. And Spotify knows about it.
instance, you would be the beneficiary of that.
No, I would not. No, I would not.
Like Drake in that instance is the beneficiary.
Right.
So if your numbers are I'm not saying your numbers are inflated, but if you have the higher numbers and they pool everything together, then you're going to get the lion's share of the pool.
In this instance, Drake would be the beneficiary because they have worked it out to pay him more.
Gotcha.
When I was there, everybody numbers go in the pot and we divvied this up equally or how we see fit. There's no way for a creator to know their true worth in that system.
Because you don't ever see the numbers.
No. Well, not the real.
No, because they don't count for anything.
Yeah, and they put all the numbers together.
They don't count for anything. If I'm carrying the ship, which I was, I deserve the lion's share or to be looked at independently. However you source ads for everybody else should not and cannot apply to me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
According to I read some studies this morning on this, and the most reliable studies I've seen suggest that maybe 10% of all these streams are fake across the board. So that's the tune of tens of billions of dollars. If a bunch of them are going to one or two artists, that's also a problem. And that's what they're finding with these farms, is that like 1% of people are accounting for it.
And some of these smaller artists, they might be out tens of thousands, or hundreds of thousands. Who knows? Maybe even millions. I don't know. Either way, if I was one of them, I would want my money one way or another. And it wouldn't be, because it's not the result of Spotify doing everything they can, despite what because Spotify did come out with a statement. It's the result of them turning a blind eye and allowing it.
Or like a disproportionate number of the streams. So
it's justifiable though.
Yeah.
Then it makes sense. Because if you just had streams for Joe Blow that were just inflated, then you couldn't, it seems fake. You know what I'm saying? If it's Drake, if it's Kendrick, if it's Taylor, if it's those people that command a certain amount of streams, we're just gonna throw $500,000 a day over there to them, and then it seems
that's not plausible. And that's not fair at all. If I'm relying on my song that I worked hard on, and you got 30 stream farms, I'm just pulling numbers out of head. 30 stream farms working 23 hours out of a day.
Yeah,
that ain't fair at all.
True.
Not at all.
I think
I would want a fair shot.
But shouldn't it depend on the artist that's suing? I don't know. What's the RBX?
Well, they say class action suit, right?
Yeah, he's opening the door, but he wants us to become a class action.
It should be.
And it should be a class action suit, which is why I don't get where your take about the fans wanting us to kick Drake's back in. This ain't, to me, really about Drake at all.
Right. The reason why it becomes about Drake, and it should not be, is because he's the only artist named in the suit. And it's not clear from the lawsuit where they got their data from or why they only chose Drake to point to. So I think they think that we're going to make the mistake that a lot of people have made in the last 24 hours, which is to misrepresent what happened. A lot of people are saying Drake is getting sued or that Drake was caught with.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that part, but I don't think anybody wants anyone to misrepresent anything. But to act like Drake wouldn't be an integral part of this is also either being woefully or willfully ignorant or just trying to kind of minimize what's happening, because you got to remember and this is what Flacco was bitching about in that clip I played in the last video, right? As far as what Drake built his legacy on and what fans like to tout, which is the numbers. And so if you start calling in to question tens of billions of streams, then you have to call in to question everything. And look, that's not to say that some of the music isn't good music. That's not to say that some of the songs aren't good songs. That's not to say that some of the songs wouldn't have gotten a lot of streams regardless, right? It's not to say that, but it does change the picture. It shifts the paradigm, right? It does. I don't care what nobody say. And that's why it's important, not because Drake is being sued in this or anything like that, but he's part of it, which I am sure there are other artists who are part of it, but we have one of the biggest who pretty much built his foundation on being the most streamed. And if you have to call those things into question, then it does change the paradigm of how you see his legacy. Not necessarily whether or not some of the music was still good, but we know that this is a key factor in this, in perception, because perception is everything.
Neither of which is true. We're much more.
Well, he's not getting sued in this suit.
Yes, there's two others.
Yeah, there's some other things going on.
There's some other things, right?
Yeah.
But this one is not about Drake. It's interesting though, and this is not a Drake diss at all. Again, it's just a matter of the chronology and the facts here. Is that when Drake started to talk about UMG and bots and how they were being used potentially to harm him, there were experts who said, hey, you might not want to lift that hood up, because if you lift the hood up and start talking about who's using bots and whose streams are real and whose streams are not, you may find that there's a lot of fake ones on your side too.
That you may have no knowledge of.
But no, that's
and I don't think he does have any knowledge. I don't think Drake did anything wrong here. I just think the fact is a whole lot of people use bots. They're just part of the business.
No, I think that was his point. I think his point was, dog, when they use them for me, I know how it looks.
So yeah.
So I know that y'all using them for him because I'm the nigga that they do it for. So
Here go Ish with the bullshit. It sound like Ish. How was that his point? That's not the point he was making. That's not what he insinuated. He didn't know. Now that's what we say, that he knew, he assumed something was going on because it happened for him. But that wasn't his point. That wasn't. Now all of a sudden, this was his point. Come on, man.
I can identify when it's being done. I don't think he never necessarily denied that the shit is happening out here. He was saying, like, my nigga, y'all do it for me. I'm the authority on this shit. I know how it is, bro. When an album is.
That's not what he was saying, bro. They just be making up shit. This is why you can't take these knuckleheads serious a lot of times, man, because he was not saying that, insinuating that, none of that. He wanted to make it seem like this was some isolated incident that UMG pulled in order to boost Not Like Us, in order to defame him, and blah, 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 blah. In no way, shape, form, or fashion did he ever try to make it seem like he knew this because it was happening for him or had happened for him in the past. That was not his fucking point.
Being pushed, or with a button being pushed.
He's saying that when he did it, it wasn't at the expense of somebody else.
Yeah, that's what.
That's it.
And to me, that's a terrible
at the
argument.
expense of him. Yeah. I mean, painting him a certain way. So that's.
I feel that. Well, let me say this. Let me not speak for myself. RBX is saying it is at someone else's expense because every time you get more money from these fake streams, I'm getting less.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a zero-sum game.
Makes sense.
And he's correct.
Yeah.
So what and the way Parks explained it, that makes total sense.
And it's frustrating that everything's digital. Everything could be paid out to who it should be paid out to without doing this extra shit.
Yeah.
It's a bad business model, an unfair business model.
I only wish that the lawsuit had more names than Drake, because this makes it about Drake.
True.
Again, and not about the system, not about the broken system, not about the companies, not about the thieves.
Also to that, you're pointing to the one guy who is probably most believable that all of these people fucked with those songs.
Right. Because there might be somebody listening to Drake 23 hours a day, quite honestly, somewhere in the world.
This ain't about whether a person is. It's about bots. And also, yes, the specifically the lawsuit is more about Spotify than about Drake. But again, they keep trying to detach this because the implications of there being billions of streams does change the perception of Drake's legacy, of this legacy that people, like to champion. So I don't think it's as, look, I don't want to make it like, I don't want to add any responsibility or anything like that when it comes to this lawsuit to Drake that shouldn't be added. But to act like the two don't go together, or to act like this doesn't have implications on his career. Come on, man. I don't even know if you're trying to be disingenuous. I don't know if they like are purposefully just glossing over that or what. I don't know what's going on. And it's crazy because you would think Joe Budden understands that. Like what this means for a guy who built his career on being the hit maker, the most streamed. Like if a lot of that is just paid advertisement, then is he really? And again, this doesn't take away from the good songs and songs that people like and love and nothing like that. But it does put things in a whole new light, does it not?
Bro, that ain't the craziest
But
thing.
in fairness, the only way that this gets legs is if you do that.
Right.
If he points out whoever the fuck, Ariana Grande or something like that, this is a non-story and it gets brushed under the rug. If you
the story itself has nothing to do with the lawsuit. The lawsuit's going to be the lawsuit, and the only thing that matters there is if you have anything to support your case. Who the fuck is involved? I mean, I guess if you want to put Drake's name is not going to make or break the lawsuit. What they have as evidence or proof is what's going to make or break the lawsuit. So I don't know what parts it's talking about right there.
put someone who is already having a bot conversation, people like us will talk about it.
I think he should have picked like the Taylor, Drake, and blah blah blah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you get what I'm saying?
okay,
and then
that's
it would have
fair.
made it more.
Yeah, but you need proof for those. Maybe they don't have the proof for that yet. What the fuck? Like, is this really that fucking hard to think about? Maybe they don't have anything. Maybe that was the shit they got right now. I don't know. All I'm saying is these possibilities are pretty obvious, man, if you just kind of think through it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. Either way, I don't think they should not say it or hold off on it just because it's Drake. I don't think that they're using his name in this just because it's Drake and he's going to be, because his name is involved, it's going to add more veracity, or this is the legal system. They don't care about names. They care about law and evidence and proof and what you can prove, right? It's like Denzel said, it ain't what you know, it's what you can prove. So no, this is a bunch of bullshit they talking about.
Right.
Just to single
Make
him
it
out
more about the company. Yeah, not singling out
and
Drake.
it's easy for the miscommunication to flow because now they're going to conflate the UMG issue with the Spotify issue and all of that.
I feel like I've been saying for the last, at least since 2018, that the future is going to be filled with class action suits against the likes of a Spotify, and I won't name any other companies for now, but this ain't going to be the last of it.
No, because all these tech companies are relying on inflated information and data to rise up their stock prices.
That's what I'm saying.
Stock
I was about to
prices,
say
sell
that.
ads, all of that
The
shit.
inflation of the
Profitable
numbers
for them to do it.
The inflation of the numbers is just to get more revenue, right? Like,
Correct.
It still doesn't. It doesn't say that people are listening to you, and because the payout is small, right? What is this payout like?
It's something, a fraction of a cent. Yeah.
fraction.
I will say this too, though. What's going to be important is the people behind the botting, right? The people behind the botting, and more so than even Drake and them, because, and I'll cut some slack as far as that goes, that Drake would not be intimately aware of every, like, that don't mean he knew about the setups and shit like that, but I wouldn't put it past him either. But I would want to know, okay, yeah, Spotify turning a blind eye, knowing that these not only goes against their policy, but there's some illegal things happening. But also, we need to know who was doing this. Was this the record companies themselves? And there's probably so many layers. We'd never get to that answer. You know what I'm saying? Or if we did, it would be some fucking fall guy somewhere who nobody that nobody knows, and he would just take the fall for it. But you would never probably see a UMG or any other record company held responsible, even though at the end of the day, they are responsible. You know what I mean?
A penny, so it's just to get them more money. I don't think it's taken away from anybody.
It's only to get more users, so it looks like your app is more viable, so that more people invest, so that you get more money for the stakeholders.
Right, you're like selling the sizzle before you get the steak.
I'm such a bird. I cared way more about the Drake Gracie Bond news than this.
I don't. What's that news?
Share, Joe.
All right, that's the end of that. But I think these guys are being purposely dismissive on this. And I'm gonna go back to something else I had already said. Contract negotiations. So if UMG knows that whatever percentage of Drake's streams are not real, then why would they give him what he thinks he's worth if they know that that doesn't represent his core, his total fan base or real people at that? And so again, this perception of how big Drake is, of the records that he set, streaming records that people talk about every day, of his worth as an artist. Yeah, he's still a huge artist. Yeah, he's still worth a shit ton of money, so on and so forth. But that's probably going to have to come down. And they only going back to 2022 when, and I'm sure it can go back further than that. So if you add in this and the ghostwriters and the reference tracks, I think these guys are doing the audience a very, very big, huge disservice by not bringing that into the picture, that aspect of the conversation. Yeah, okay, the lawsuit is against Spotify. Why is Drake named? Well, he could be named for a number of reasons, one of which maybe they only got information pertaining to streams that were bought for him right now. Maybe that's a possibility. At least have that discussion. Also, at least have the discussion about the impact on his legacy. Now, look, this could be a part of someone wanting him to be named to be a part of a smear campaign. Oh, fucking well. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, he's been doing that shit to Kendrick for the last year and a half too. Was good for the goose and all that. But have that conversation at least. Like, look, man, like he ain't being sued, but like, given the enormous amount of streams that they allege have been bought, if true, what does that mean? And given the totality of everything that we've learned at this point, what does that mean? And how do we perceive Drake the artist at this point? Right? I think that's a fair conversation to have. Has nothing to do with hating or nothing like that. This podcast, man, with all these people on here, man, I just don't understand why they don't have the full gambit of conversation, or they don't explore all the options. It's just like they keep these narrow views. And look, sometimes the views make sense. Sometimes though, you gotta wonder, with all the people in it, there's no way they can miss some of these points. Even if it was like one or two of them, maybe. But you got like 4 or 5 people up there, bro. None of y'all, and some of y'all are very intimately aware of what goes on in the music industry and all of that. So I think a lot of it too is them purposely not wanting to talk about it for whatever reason. And then Ish with his dumb ass, oh, Drake knew that's what he was trying to say. He was trying to say it because it happens. That's not what the fuck he was trying to say. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think about this nonsense in the comment section. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.